Hey everyone, I'm back, and today we're going to be talking about Kicking and Screaming. And this movie came out in 2005, and this is not to be confused with Kicking and Screaming from 1995. These movies have nothing to do with each other, and both by different directors. They're not related even in the slightest. And this movie I thought was bad. It was exactly what I thought it was going to be. It had very annoying characters, bad comedy. I never laughed once. The moments that I cringed the most were the coffee scenes. I just couldn't stand them at all. I just hated the comedy overall. It was the worst part of the movie. And this movie is only an hour and a half, and I just couldn't stand it because I didn't feel as though scenes were really progressing all that well. Mostly because of the comedy being stretched out in a lot of scenes, and it really hurts the pacing. And because scenes are stretched out so much, I can't really feel as though things are moving along. And honestly, if you made this into a short film with half the runtime, the movie would be no different. In the sense that you wouldn't lose anything important, because pretty much anything worth any substance whatsoever is basically just half of the movie. The rest of the movie is just filler. At the very least, half of the movie is filler. And while watching the movie, I kept thinking to myself, this isn't offending me while I'm watching it, but at the same time, I don't really feel as though I need to pay attention to it. And I kind of feel as though this movie works best as background noise. Like, you can have it just playing on in the background, and it's not the worst thing to be playing in the background while you're doing other things, but there certainly is better. The story for this movie is pretty simple, and you can pretty much guess where the story is going to go within the first 10 minutes-ish, maybe even sooner, but it's a very simple story, and not to say that's a particularly bad thing. Like, there's nothing wrong with a movie being simple. It's just that what they do with a simple concept is really what makes or breaks it. And what they did with it just wasn't something that worked for me. And the licensed music that was used in the movie, I can see it working in a movie that actually earned the emotions that it was going for. But because the emotions were not earned while I was watching the movie, it just felt so out of place and also abrupt, and I just felt no impact while watching so many of these scenes. And the soccer scenes in this movie, you would expect them to be exciting and fun. Most of the time, it's not the worst thing ever, but there are a couple points where there's too many cuts, and I feel as though they should have allowed each shot to have more time to breathe, but instead we get some choppy editing choices. I think one huge reason as to why I wasn't into the story or anything that was going on in this movie is because I didn't find any of the characters to be likable. And if you have no likable characters, then it's going to be really tough to watch, unless they're interesting characters. You can have interesting characters over likable characters. Nothing wrong with that, but they're not interesting either. They're not likable or interesting. They're flat, simple, and just unlikable. And because of that, it just ruins the movie. Will Ferrell was really annoying in this movie. I just couldn't stand him. Not because he's someone that I feel is incapable of giving a good performance. Like, he can give good performances, but in this movie, I just didn't feel as though he worked very well. Like, I'm just not on board with him just screaming and progressively being turned into a man baby. And I just found that to be really annoying and upsetting. And that's about all I have to say about Kicking and Screaming. It's not the worst movie I've ever seen, but I would have liked it to see something a bit better. The comedy in this movie, it just really did not work for me, and the fact that there were no likable characters either really did not help, and just so many choices in this movie I feel could have been better, but because of that, this movie was painful to sit through. So, unfortunately, I can't recommend that you check this movie out. I don't think it's worth your time. Instead, check out the Kicking and Screaming from 1995, directed by Noah Baumbach. That's a good movie. Has nothing to do with soccer, but I think it's a lot more enjoyable. So check that Kicking and Screaming out. But as for this Kicking and Screaming, I'm going to give it a 3 out of 10. Thank you for watching my videos. As always, if you enjoyed this review, be sure to leave a like and comment down below you thought of Kicking and Screaming, and my social media links, they will all be in the description, so follow me there. And last but not least, subscribe to be a part of Foley Nation, and I'll see you when I get my next review up, and that is going to be for Under Paris. So look forward to that, but until I get that up, thank you for watching and have a great day.